All right, Steve, you may commence the Shellfish Commission meeting.
Thank you very much, Bill. So I'd like to call to order this September 5th meeting of the Norwalk Shellfish Commission. And has attendance been taken?
It has.
And I'd like to briefly offer, if we could, a moment of silence for Mrs. Dr. Carolyn Rosenfield. She was a teacher of mine, a teacher of Jeff's back in the day, and was an integral part of mathematics and science education in the city for decades. So I'd just like to honor her memory with a brief moment of silence, if I could. Thank you, everyone. Approval of the minutes from the August meeting.
I make a motion.
Second motion.
And in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Public comment. I see that we have two attendees. One of them is Mr. Ryder. Looks like he's being brought over as a panelist.
That's correct. I just brought Mr. Ryder and Mr. Hiltz in.
Okay, great. Treasurer's report, Bill.
Sure. Well, I'll tie in the permits too at the same time if I could. So
Sounds good.
the amount is the same as it was last month, which was 24,938. However, I did go down about a week and a half, well, about 2 weeks ago now, Fisherman's World. I did pick up a check for $3,384 and some of the used permits, or the permits that have been used rather. But I guess the check hasn't, been processed yet through the city, so it'll show up probably by this time next month.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's it for that part of it. Thanks.
Yep, thank you. No report for the secretary's report, so we'll go right into the committee reports. And you again, please, Bill, for Department of Health.
Okay, sure. So for the month of August, we had 7.29 inches of rain. Last August, it was 5.68, and traditionally it's 4.17. We had one bypass, which occurred on August 18th when we had that huge storm. No surprise there. We had 4 closures for the Cook's Ground. Anything over 0.5, we had 4. There was 2 closures for greater than 1.5 with Cook's Ground, and then the CAA area, and then on the 18th, all of the areas were closed due to that large rainfall. But other than that, that was it. So those 4 closures in total.
Thanks, Bill. I noticed this Saturday night, so before the big deluge on Sunday, that we were up already over 1.5 inches, but the volumes were increasing greatly. It went right through the shellfish measurements. It went through the beach measurements. Was there some delay such that the postings were done in a single batch? I'm not sure what happened. It didn't seem
I don't know either. If you ask me, I can follow up on it and get you some information for next meeting if you like.
Yeah, sure. It just didn't seem like it was coming in real time.
Well, we do have, we just put in a logger. That was a few months ago, and then we put in a second logger. We removed our computer system and they tied it in. So in both of them, in the past, we've had a little bit of a discrepancy. It might be a 1/4 inch a month here or there. So maybe that's part of this, but both loggers were identical in their amounts for the month though. So I think we're over that, and hopefully the reporting will be a lot more accurate.
Yeah, I was actually out of town, and I'm sure it's raining hard, but not that hard.
Yeah, well, it did rain. It was coming down pretty hard. They had 10 inches of rain in some parts up, in around the Newtown area.
Yeah, but they were updating in seconds, which probably impossible. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Yep, wastewater treatment plant, no report. Mayor's Water Quality Committee, no report. I think now that we're into the fall season, it might be wise for us to get together with other members of the committee to see if the mayor would like to appoint a chair and reinvigorate that important committee. Permits, bills covered. Police, Sergeant Bisegli, please, sir.
Hey guys, how are you? Nothing significant. We did have one complaint of someone trying to take some shellfish on the wrong side of the pier a couple weeks ago. The beach units went out and addressed that, and it was just more of a lack of knowledge than anything else. There was nothing malicious or any intent. We didn't take any enforcement action against that. Other than that, we've been pretty quiet on the shellfishing end. So water temp probably right now around 70 or so.
Okay. How you doing on flags, Sarge?
They were in pretty good shape. We had a couple that we replaced. They were pretty beat up, but I think we're still in pretty good shape so far.
Okay. Thank you. Just ping me. Let me know.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
And thanks for the temperature advisory and Norwalk Harbor Management Commission. We have Mr. Stedman here. Please, Jeff.
Excuse me. Thanks, Steve. Clear my throat, but first, with regard to Mrs. Rosenfield, appreciate your comments about that. Her first teaching job was at Fox Run, not too long, a few years after it opened, and her contributions to the city of Norwalk, without expecting anything in return, really are an example to a lot of us. And then she passed away. I think she was either 98 or 99 years old, and trying to be if maybe the council or the mayor could approve a resolution recognizing her service. I know this isn't related to shellfishing, but it is related to public service. So we're working on that. Directly related to the harbor though, the commission did submit a grant application to the Connecticut Port Authority for funds to restore or replace the Veterans Park Marina. We asked for over $3 million, which of course we're not going to get the full amount because the Port Authority only has, I think, a little over $5 million to distribute among all the towns. We thought we would hear about that in August, but now we're informed that the Port Authority board does not meet in September, so in October 15th is the anticipated date where the Port Authority board will act to accept and announce the accepted projects for that grant program. So we're hopeful that we can
recording in progress.
Some funds for that. The other matter, and we talked about it at your meeting last month, was to prepare a joint letter to the DEP with copies to all interested parties expressing concern about the Eversource public hearing process. And when we talked about that last month, we talked about it in relationship to the agreed draft decision that was agreed to by the parties to the process, which is Eversource and DEEP, interestingly, of course. And then right during the Harbor Commission's meeting, you agreed, the Shellfish Commission agreed to that letter, pending review of the specific contents of it. And then it was brought up for discussion at the last Harbor Commission meeting, and during that meeting, we learned about it afterwards. The final decision was proposed by the hearing officer. We had to switch a little bit the contents of the letter we talked about, because the final decision, which was first it was a draft decision the day of the commission meeting, and then the next day was the final decision, did mention the Harbor Commission, did not mention the Shellfish Commission at all. And interestingly, we noted that DEEP had, just like in the proposed decision, DEEP had determined that the Eversource proposal is consistent with the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan. And that's of course is somewhat troubling. So that the commission at its last meeting, a couple of weeks ago or 1 week ago, I can't remember now, agreed to draft a letter expressing concern and asking the question, what is the statutory authority, or where is the statute that says the DEEP can determine a project is consistent with the Harbor Management Plan? And also expressing the concerns that we had talked about that during the public comment hearing, the description of the project by the Eversource representatives was completely inadequate. And then also during the hearing, the documents that were submitted by the parties and by anybody else were not available for public review. So that certainly seems like a significant flaw in the process. So anyway, John Pinto and I are working on a draft for the chairs of the two commissions to look at. And interestingly, several years ago, DEEP made a similar statement with respect to a project in Stamford, where DEEP said that they had determined, or that it was DEEP's responsibility to determine if a project is consistent with the Stamford Harbor Management Plan. And of course, the Stamford Commission took exception to that and asked DEEP what the statute is, or where do they get that authority. And of course, they did not get a response to it. But, so hopefully we will today. And then Pete and I had talked about that one of the arguments that was referenced in the final decision for approval of the Eversource project was that future development would follow the call before you dig protocols. And I remember some time ago, Pete, you would question that and wondered if that meant they thought they could spray paint a line on the water, but that's another topic. And then we also talked about the Norwalk Oyster Trail. Mike Matthews has been pursuing, how to promote that, and we talked about, and I'm working on some interpretive panels, you might call it, like the panels that we have on the harbor now about the watershed and the history, and there's also one at Veterans Park about the oyster industry. But preparing the designs for those including the old 1899, which of course that means it is old, map of natural shellfish beds, and incorporating the images from the City Hall murals that depict the history of shellfishing in Norwalk. I've started those, and hopefully we'll have those for review by the commission at the Harbor Commission at its next meeting. And then another topic, just to bring up, and we haven't pursued this, but a week ago or so, someone asked me about the work on I-95 in the vicinity of the Route 7 connector, and expressed concerns about the added runoff going from that area into the harbor near Oyster Shell Park. And if you remember, when the mall was being built, the mall cut into the DOT storm drain in that area, with the argument that there was additional capacity in that storm drain because DOT had instituted measures to deal with stormwater from I-95 and reduce the amount of stormwater. So the question that I received related to the Harbor Commission was having to do with is there added stormwater being generated now by this new work? And I don't know the answer, but I asked to contact DEEP, and I haven't done that yet this week. But that's another issue that was raised, and that's I guess that's my report. Thanks for letting me talk, Steve.
No, thank you so much, Jeff, for a great report as always. So that concludes the committee reports. Motion to accept them as read, please.
Motion to accept.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Pete, second.
Second, Pagler.
Second. Thank you. So that Commissioner Pagler is present. Thanks, John. Old business. I see Mr. Hiltz is here. I'd like to get the 28 Shorefront Park off of our plate for him quickly, if we could tonight. I think at least three of us are extremely familiar with that area for fairly obvious reasons. There's some Spartina and an active bed on the way out for this project. And it's my personal feeling that we have enough in standard language to cover this. And the project's not that much different than others that we have approved. John, would you like to add, subtract, or comment in any regard?
Evening, Stephen, Commissioners. Thank you. The only thing I'd like to talk about, you're right. Everything you brought up is pertinent. I'd like to broach the subject of leaving the ramp in place, hoisted, in the winter, because it's going to come up, and I don't want to come back to you unnecessarily if we can address it now.
Yeah, that's fine. Commissioners, questions for Mr. Hiltz in that regard?
None here.
What do you
Okay.
mean leaving the ramp in place?
You know, Pete, in the winter, taking the float out, but hoisting the ramp up so it's basically held up by the 2 float anchor piles.
Oh, that's fine. They do it. I think there's a couple of them that do it already.
Yeah, you know, it's, you know, just something I wanted to bring to the fore now so that we can, you know, I can include it in the application. Thank you.
That's
Okay.
great. Yeah, we'll add it to standard language.
Thank you.
Anyone interested in moving this forward for his applicant?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So unanimous. Thanks
Thank you.
for that, John.
Steve, I'm just so you know, I think you're going to be discussing the Wilson Cove matter.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to stick around for that, but I'll tune out for now.
No, we'll take it now under old business.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, please. So this is the matter of a dredging project by the applicant at 120 Wilson Avenue. Due to my business relationship with the applicant, I will recuse myself from further discussion, but introduce Pete to chair this portion of the meeting and involve Mr. Stedman with respect to the Harbor Management Commission's commentary. So I'll sit back.
Okay, this is a COP. So they're just going out and doing dredging that they've done before. The problem we have is the last person that did the dredging destroyed some beds, didn't do what he was supposed to be doing. He wasn't supposed to be working at low tide. His tugs were digging up all the oyster beds. As a matter of fact, they were Mr. Kramer's. And we don't want to have that happen. So we have to get something in the COP that will state, you know, at a certain tide, they cannot be there. That's the only thing I can say. Anyone else have anything?
Pete, this is Jeff again.
Yep.
May I say something? Excuse me. I talked with the director of the Bureau of Aquaculture, Mr. Carey, about his, and he was aware of the problem that happened before. However, he's not supportive of a requirement that would require the applicant to post a bond to cover any damage on shellfish resources. He said that's just as a matter of policy. They don't want to have to manage or manage the bond or control it. But he said it's certainly appropriate to require a condition of approval that would specify that the movement of tugs and barges to and from the dredging site would be restricted to the designated channel, and could take place only at such time periods of the tide as to not have an adverse impact, not to scrape the bottom or otherwise have an adverse impact on shellfish resources. So that was the condition that the Harbor Commission recommended also be included in any approval for this.
Well, the last person that did this, basically, I guess, didn't care. So I hope he's not coming back to do the dredging.
This is Tom Ryder, representative for the applicant. So if now is a good time for me to interject, I can provide some background as to our position.
Okay.
Yeah, we are aware of the, well, we were brought aware of this when we did another application for 2 Nathan Hale. Well, Mr. Hiltz provided some comments and we responded back to that. And there's the comments we have for Mr. Hiltz on that application are the same as we will have here, which is we don't have any problem with the conditions that Mr. Stedman just mentioned, but basically we'd like to make it full communication. We can, mention to Mr. Hiltz on one, 2 Nathan Hale, and if there's a representative that's of interest on this particular site, we can, make them as aware as well, but we can notify them, 2 weeks in advance and so that they can go out and inspect if they happen to be, gives them some forewarning. We have no problem with notifying the captain of the vessels, say, look, here's a sensitivity, here's what's going on, here's where you need to be, and make them fully aware of it. I'll also add that we haven't selected one. We have sent out a couple bids and we've gotten some back. And I will say that the people that are bidding on this are well experienced. You're familiar with them, and they are reputable companies that certainly respect the sensitivity of these waters. So I don't have any problem with putting in conditions like that and consistent with Mr. Stedman had.
That sounds good.
And I might just add, Pete, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you can't see me, but
No problem.
also that the standard condition that the harbor master will be notified of the planned movement of all in water equipment.
That's fine. Yeah, that's reasonable. The whole purpose of what we're trying to portray here is that we know that there have been problems in the past through another contractor that I don't actually know who that was. But the point is that we're fully open to full communication and letting everybody know what's going on there. So, things like that don't happen again.
That's good. That's what we're trying to do. Because they tore up someone's beds real bad.
Yeah, I read all the emails and the reports. A lot of them were provided by Mr. Hiltz, and I am, as a coastal ecologist, very sensitive to that and try to do what I can to keep that from happening again.
All right, thank you. Jeff, harbor management's going to write this up, right?
Well, John was writing the letter. I don't know if he sent it yet. I called him before the meeting, so we can share with you the language that the Harbor Commission agreed to and that I reported on.
Okay.
And then the Shellfish would write its own letter.
I will also add, if I may, that I've also sent my comments to Dr. Pinto and provided him with all basically the language that I've just provided to you. So he has that.
Yep.
Okay. Do we take a vote on it or something about we're going to follow what harbor management is doing? Nick?
I think that we should move forward with that.
Okay. Anybody second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
One abstain.
Okay, we'll let you.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, take over.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good
Okay,
evening.
thank you.
Yep, thanks, Tom. Thanks, John.
All right, good night.
Night.
So I don't think we have anything under new business unless anyone in the commission does.
Nope.
Not here.
Okay. Hearing none, just to recommend to the members of the public watching this that the Norwalk Oyster Festival is this weekend. So try some of our product on site. And I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
Okay, in favor? Aye.
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 And see everyone in October, if not sooner.
Okay.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone. Have a good week.
Night.